Welcome, coin lovers. Get ready to discover the top ultra-rare wheat penny coins that could be worth a fortune. From minting errors to extreme rarities, these pennies are legendary. This is World Coins History, where every coin tells a story. Stay tuned, your rare coin hunt starts now. Subscribe for more rare coin discoveries. Top 1. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most exciting and valuable coins in U.S. history, the 1917 wheat penny. If you're a coin lover or just a collector looking for the next rare find, you're in for a treat. This particular coin holds not just historical value but also significant financial worth. So, listen carefully as we unravel the story behind the 1917 wheat penny and why it could be worth a small fortune. Let's start by taking a trip back in time. The 1917 wheat penny was minted in San Francisco and is part of the famous Lincoln Wheat Penny series, which first debuted in 1909. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, with its iconic wheat stalks on the reverse side, quickly became one of the most popular coins in America. But what makes the 1917 wheat penny so special? It's all about rarity, historical significance, and some key minting errors that make this coin a true gem for collectors. First, let's talk about the rarity of the 1917 wheat penny. When you think about old coins, it's not surprising to hear that the older and rarer a coin is, the more valuable it can be. But the 1917 wheat penny stands out because of its mintage numbers. Unlike some other pennies that were struck in much larger quantities, only a limited number of these coins were produced in San Francisco. As time went on, many of these pennies were lost, damaged, or worn out through daily circulation. Finding one in good condition today is a challenge, which is why it has become highly sought after by collectors, but rarity alone doesn't explain why this coin is so valuable. There are some significant minting errors on certain 1917 wheat pennies that make them even more desirable. One of the most notable errors is the double die variety. What does this mean? Well, when the coin was being struck at the mint, the die used to imprint the design onto the coin was misaligned or worn out, resulting in the design being stamped more than once. This causes a doubling effect on the lettering and images, especially noticeable on the word Liberty and the date 1917. Collectors are always on the lookout for these double die varieties because they are incredibly rare and highly prized in the numismatic world. Another factor that contributes to the coin's value is its condition. Coins like these were used in everyday transactions, so most of them are heavily worn or damaged by the time they're found today. The true value of a 1917 wheat penny is heavily influenced by how well preserved it is. A coin in near mint condition, with clear, sharp details, will fetch far more than a heavily worn one. So, if you happen to have one of these pennies in excellent condition, you're holding onto a piece of history that could be worth significantly more than face value. Now, let's get to the exciting part. Just how much could a 1917 wheat penny be worth today? Well, if you're lucky enough to own one in excellent condition, you could be looking at a coin worth around $155,000. That's right, $155,000 for a single penny. That's the kind of value that gets collectors' hearts racing. Imagine finding this rare gem hidden in a collection or in a jar of old coins. It's one of those treasures that can change your life if you're lucky enough to come across it. So, if you're a coin collector, take a close look at any old pennies you might have lying around. You could have a 1917 wheat penny sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to be discovered. And if you happen to stumble upon one with a double die error or in mint condition, you could be holding a coin worth a small fortune. Top 2, we're diving into a hidden treasure from the past that you definitely don't want to miss, the 1945 wheat penny. If you're someone who loves discovering rare and valuable coins, then you're in for a real treat. This particular penny might look like just another coin in your collection, but trust me, it's much more than that. We're about to uncover why the 1945 wheat penny is considered a gem in the numismatic world and why it could be worth far more than you think. Let's start with a little background. The 1945 wheat penny is part of the famous Lincoln series, which was first introduced in 1909. But this particular penny, struck at the tail end of World War II, hold special significance. By this time, the United States was facing major economic and social challenges, yet the U.S. Mint continued to produce these iconic pennies. The 1945 wheat penny was one of the last coins in the series before the design transitioned to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, which makes this coin an important piece of history. But what really sets the 1945 wheat penny apart from others in the series is its rarity and potential for errors. As with any coin, the more rare it is, the more valuable it can be. The 1945 wheat penny was minted in relatively large numbers, so you might think that it's not particularly rare. However, the true value comes from finding this coin in excellent condition or with unique characteristics that set it apart. There's one major factor that can increase the value of a 1945 wheat penny significantly: minting errors. And when it comes to this particular year, one of the most sought-after varieties is the famous D/D mint mark error. This occurs when a mint mark was improperly stamped over another mint mark, creating a doubling effect that is clearly visible to collectors. Coins with this error are extremely rare, and if you happen to find one of these in your collection, it could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. In addition to the D/D mint mark error, collectors are also on the lookout for 1945 wheat pennies that have been well preserved. It's not uncommon for these coins to be heavily worn from years of circulation, but if you're lucky enough to have one that has been kept in excellent condition, you could be holding on to a real treasure. The higher the grade, the higher the potential value, especially for a coin as historically significant as this one. But you might be wondering, how much is a 1945 wheat penny actually worth? Well, if you happen to come across a 1945 wheat penny in exceptional condition or with a minting error, the value could skyrocket. Some collectors have paid as much as $92,000 for a single 1945 wheat penny. That's right, $92,000 for one penny. Imagine stumbling across this rare gem in a jar of old coins or a collection you've inherited. This kind of find can be life-changing for collectors and enthusiasts alike. So, if you're a coin lover, make sure to take a close look at any 1945 wheat pennies in your collection. You could have one of these hidden treasures sitting right under your nose. Whether it's a minting error or simply a coin in excellent condition, it could be worth far more than you ever expected. Top 3, we've got something very special for you, a coin that could be hiding in your collection, waiting to make you a small fortune. We're talking about the 1954 wheat penny, a rare piece of U.S. history that could be worth far more than its face value. If you're into rare coins or just love discovering hidden treasures, this is one you'll want to pay close attention to. Trust me, this little penny is more valuable than you might think. The 1954 wheat penny was minted during a fascinating time in American history. The country was emerging from the aftermath of World War II, and the economy was beginning to take off in the 1950s. But what makes this penny particularly interesting is that it marks the tail end of the iconic Lincoln wheat series, which had been in circulation since 1909. The wheat penny, with its unique reverse featuring 2 ears of wheat, has become an iconic symbol of the early 20th century in the U.S. But despite being part of a series that was widely used for decades, the 1954 wheat penny holds a few secrets that make it extremely valuable today. Let's dive into the rarity of the 1954 wheat penny. While millions of these pennies were minted, what makes this particular coin so valuable is its condition and the possible minting errors. As we all know, coins that were once in circulation were often heavily worn and damaged over time. But here's the thing. Some 1954 wheat pennies were struck in exceptionally good condition and, when kept properly, survived the decades unscathed. These pristine examples are much harder to find than you might expect, and when collectors get their hands on one, it becomes highly sought after. Now, you might be asking, what makes a 1954 wheat penny even more valuable? The answer lies in the potential minting errors. For example, one of the most valuable errors to look out for on a 1954 wheat penny is the double die variety. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing certain parts of the design to appear doubled, especially on the word Liberty or the date itself. This error, although subtle, can make a 1954 wheat penny worth significantly more. Collectors love these kinds of mistakes because they are unique and rare, and they add a touch of history to the coin, but that's not all. Some 1954 wheat pennies also have an over-polished die variety. What does that mean? It means that the die used to strike the coin was excessively polished before it was used to mint the coins. This polishing can result in a coin that lacks certain details, making it a fascinating find for collectors. The over-polished variety is often harder to spot, but once you do, it can be a game-changer for the value of your penny. The real magic happens when you find a 1954 wheat penny with one of these errors in excellent condition. The combination of rarity, historical significance, and minting mistakes can turn this penny into something worth a lot of money. So, how much is a 1954 wheat penny actually worth? If you happen to have one of these pennies in near-perfect condition, or even better, one with a rare minting error, you could be holding onto a coin that could fetch $85,000, that's right, $85,000 for a single penny. That's the kind of discovery that can send any coin collector's heart racing. Imagine finding this rare gem tucked away in a collection or a jar of loose change. It's the kind of treasure that can change your life. If you're a coin collector, make sure to take a close look at any 1954 wheat pennies in your collection. You never know when you might have a valuable one hiding in plain sight. Whether it's a well-preserved coin or one with a minting error, it could be worth much more than you expect. Top 4, we've got a real treat for you, a coin that might be sitting in your collection right now, waiting to make you a small fortune. We're talking about the 1951 wheat penny, a rare and valuable coin that has intrigued collectors for decades. If you're into rare coins or just enjoy learning about hidden treasures, this is a video you won't want to miss. Trust me, this penny might seem like just another old coin, but once you dig into its history and potential, you'll see why it's worth so much more. The 1951 wheat penny is part of the legendary Lincoln Wheat series, which started back in 1909. These pennies, with their famous wheat stalks on the reverse side, are an iconic part of American history. But by the time the 1951 wheat penny was struck, this series was nearing its end. In just a few years, the design would change to the Lincoln Memorial reverse we see today. So, in a way, the 1951 wheat penny represents the closing chapter of a remarkable era in U.S. coinage. Now, you may be wondering, why is the 1951 wheat penny so special? Well, while millions of these coins were minted, the true value of a 1951 wheat penny lies in its rarity and condition. Most of the 1951 wheat pennies you'll come across were circulated heavily, which means they're often worn down and lack the sharp details that collectors crave. But there's a twist: finding a 1951 wheat penny in pristine or near pristine condition is incredibly rare. And that's where the true value lies. What sets this coin apart from others in the series is the fact that it was struck during a time of transition in the U.S. Mint. After World War II, the economy was booming, and the demand for coins was high. However, because the Mint was trying to meet this demand, some of the coins weren't struck with the level of care and precision we might expect today. This means that some 1951 wheat pennies were subject to minor minting errors, making them even rarer, and therefore more valuable. One of the most important errors that collectors look for in a 1951 wheat penny is the double die variety. This is when the die used to strike the coin was misaligned, causing the design to be stamped twice, creating a doubling effect on certain parts of the coin. This error is particularly noticeable on the word Liberty and the date, 1951, and it can significantly increase the value of the coin. If you find a 1951 wheat penny with a double die error, you could be holding onto something much more valuable than a standard coin. Another valuable feature collectors look for is the condition of the coin. As you know, most coins that were in circulation for years tend to show wear, scratches, and fading. But when a 1951 wheat penny is in exceptional condition, free from the usual wear and tear, it becomes a highly sought-after piece for collectors. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, if you happen to have a well-preserved 1951 wheat penny, you might be sitting on a real treasure, but let's not forget the rarity factor. Coins that are both in excellent condition and have minting errors are very hard to find, making the 1951 wheat penny highly desirable among numismatists. The coin's rarity, combined with its historical significance and potential minting errors, is exactly what makes it so special. Many collectors actively search for this particular coin because it's not just a piece of currency, it's a snapshot of history. So, how much could a 1951 wheat penny actually be worth? Well, hold on to your hats, because if you happen to have one of these coins in exceptional condition, or with a rare minting error, it could fetch you a jaw-dropping $89,000, yes, you heard that right, $89,000 for a single penny. That's the kind of value that makes coin collectors and enthusiasts stand up and take notice. Imagine discovering this little gem hidden away in your collection, tucked inside an old jar of loose change. It's the kind of find that could change your life and add an incredible piece of history to your collection. If you're a coin collector, don't overlook any 1951 wheat pennies you may have. Even if they don't look like much at first glance, take a closer look. With a sharp eye for condition and any potential minting errors, you might just have a rare and valuable coin on your hands. And if you're lucky enough to find one with a double die error or in pristine condition, you could be holding a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 5, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and potentially lucrative pennies in the world of numismatics, the 1952 wheat penny. If you're into collecting rare coins, then you're going to want to pay close attention because this penny is more than just a piece of history. It could be hiding something valuable, and today we're going to explore why this seemingly humble penny is worth far more than you might think. First, let's talk a little bit about the history behind the 1952 wheat penny. The Lincoln Wheat series, which began in 1909, has long been one of the most iconic sets of coins ever produced in the United States. These pennies, with their distinctive wheat stalks on the reverse side, were used in everyday transactions for over 50 years. By 1952, the Lincoln Wheat penny was nearing the end of its run before the design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. But even though the 1952 wheat penny was still in circulation, there are several factors that make it a highly collectible piece for coin enthusiasts today. The first thing to understand about the 1952 wheat penny is that its rarity isn't immediately obvious. While millions of these pennies were minted, many were used in daily transactions, worn down, and eventually destroyed. The true value of the 1952 wheat penny lies in its condition and any potential minting errors that can make it stand out from the crowd. If you're lucky enough to have a well-preserved example or, better yet, one with a rare minting mistake, you could be holding onto a piece of numismatic history worth far more than you might expect. So, what makes the 1952 wheat penny so special? One of the biggest factors is its potential for minting errors. The U.S. Mint, like any large-scale production facility, occasionally makes mistakes during the minting process, and those mistakes can make certain coins incredibly valuable. The 1952 wheat penny, in particular, has some notable errors that collectors search for. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die variety. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design to be stamped more than once. This doubling effect is most noticeable on the word Liberty and the date itself. It's a subtle error, but if you're able to spot one on a 1952 wheat penny, you've got something very rare and valuable in your hands. Collectors go crazy for double die coins, and the 1952 is no exception, but that's not the only type of error to look out for. Some 1952 wheat pennies were struck with a repunched mintmark error. This happens when the mintmark on the coin, usually located just below the date, is stamped more than once, creating a noticeable overlap. This error is particularly valuable because it's a sign of a rare and unique production flaw. If you manage to find a 1952 wheat penny with this type of minting error, you're looking at a coin that could fetch a serious premium. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. Most coins from this era were in circulation for decades, meaning they saw a lot of wear and tear. The majority of 1952 wheat pennies you'll come across will be heavily worn, which can significantly decrease their value. However, the true value of a 1952 wheat penny comes from how well it has been preserved. Coins that have been kept in mint or near mint condition are incredibly valuable because they retain the fine details and clarity that collectors are after. If you've got a 1952 wheat penny that has survived in excellent condition, you've got yourself a rare find, and then, of course, there's the overall rarity of the coin. While the 1952 wheat penny was minted in large numbers, the fact that most of these coins have been lost, damaged, or simply worn out means that finding one in pristine condition or with a rare error is quite a challenge. The fewer examples of a particular coin in good condition, the higher the demand and value among collectors. This makes the 1952 wheat penny a sought-after coin for those looking to complete their Lincoln wheat collection. So, how much could a 1952 wheat penny be worth? Well, if you're lucky enough to have one in exceptional condition, or even better, one with a minting error like the double die or repunched mint mark, you could be holding a coin worth a staggering $87,000, that's right, $87,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that something so small could carry such a high value, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. You never know when you'll stumble upon a treasure that's been hiding in plain sight. Whether you've inherited an old collection or are sifting through a jar of loose change, always take a second look at those 1952 wheat pennies. You could be looking at a coin that's far more valuable than you ever imagined. If you're a coin collector or simply someone who loves learning about rare treasures, make sure to keep your eyes peeled for this iconic piece of U.S. history. A 1952 wheat penny in excellent condition, or one with a minting error, could be worth a lot more than you think. Top 6, we've got a real gem to talk about, the 1950 wheat penny. While this might seem like just another old coin, trust me, there's far more to this penny than meets the eye. If you're a coin collector or just curious about what makes certain coins so valuable, stick around because this 1950 wheat penny could be worth a whole lot more than you think. Let's start with a little bit of history to set the stage. The 1950 wheat penny is part of the iconic Lincoln wheat series that ran from 1909 to 1958. These pennies have been a cornerstone of U.S. coinage for decades and feature the classic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse. This design has long been associated with American history and represents a simpler, more agrarian time in the country's past. By 1950, the wheat penny was nearing the end of its production, soon to be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Penny in 1959. So, the 1950 wheat penny is one of the last coins minted with this iconic design. Now, you might be wondering, why is the 1950 wheat penny so special? Well, while it's true that millions of these pennies were minted, their rarity and value are tied to a few key factors: condition, minting errors, and, of course, the story behind how they were made. Most 1950 wheat pennies that were circulated are pretty worn out by now, and this is where things get interesting. The true value of this penny comes when you can find one in exceptional condition, or even better, one with a rare minting error. And that's what coin collectors are always on the lookout for. Let's dive into some of the specific errors that can make a 1950 wheat penny worth so much more than its face value. One of the most common errors you might come across is a double die variety. This happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly, creating a doubled image on certain parts of the design. For the 1950 wheat penny, this doubling effect is most noticeable on the word Liberty and the date itself. It's a subtle but fascinating error that makes the coin stand out. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the penny becomes. A 1950 wheat penny with this error is extremely sought after by collectors because it's unique and rare. Another error that can increase the value of the 1950 wheat penny is the repunched mintmark variety. This error happens when the mintmark, usually located just below the date, is stamped multiple times, creating a noticeable overlap. A repunched mintmark on a 1950 wheat penny is a clear sign of a production mistake, and coins like this are highly prized in the world of coin collecting. If you find a 1950 wheat penny with a repunched mintmark, you might just have a valuable piece in your hands. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. As with any coin, the better the condition, the higher its value. The 1950 wheat penny is no exception. Most coins that were circulated over the years have suffered some degree of wear and tear, which makes finding one in pristine or near pristine condition a real rarity. Coins that have been kept in excellent condition, without any significant scratches, dents, or discoloration, are highly sought after by collectors. If you happen to come across a 1950 wheat penny that looks as if it just came from the mint, you've struck gold, so to speak. It's not just about errors and condition, though. The rarity of this coin also plays a big part in its value. The 1950 wheat penny was minted in relatively high numbers, but that doesn't mean it's easy to find one in great condition or with a rare minting error. Coins that are well preserved or feature a unique mistake are few and far between, which is what makes them so valuable. When you consider the fact that these pennies have been around for more than 70 years, you can understand why finding one in exceptional shape is such a rare occurrence. So, what kind of price are we talking about for a 1950 wheat penny that's in top condition or has a minting error? Well, if you've got one of these rare coins with all the right characteristics, you could be holding onto a penny worth a staggering $90,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $90,000 for a single 1950 wheat penny. It's incredible to think that a coin so small and seemingly insignificant could carry such a hefty price tag, but that's the world of coin collecting for you. Whether it's a coin with a rare minting error, an exceptionally well-preserved example, or simply one that has stood the test of time, the 1950 wheat penny has the potential to be worth far more than you could ever imagine. If you're a coin collector or just someone who enjoys the thrill of finding hidden treasures, take a closer look at your 1950 wheat pennies. They might look like just another old penny, but with the right error or in the right condition, you could have a valuable piece of American history right in your hands. Top 7. We're taking a deep dive into an extraordinary penny that might be sitting quietly in your collection right now, a penny that could be worth thousands of dollars. I'm talking about the 1941 wheat penny, a true gem from the past. This coin isn't just a piece of U.S. history, it could be your next big find in the world of coin collecting. Now, when you think about the 1941 wheat penny, you might assume it's just another common coin. After all, it was minted in the early 1940s, a time when coins were still used for everyday transactions. But let me tell you, there's so much more to this penny than meets the eye. If you're a coin lover or collector, this penny is definitely one you'll want to pay close attention to. You may just have a hidden treasure on your hands. The 1941 wheat penny is part of the iconic Lincoln Wheat series that started in 1909 and ran all the way to 1958. These pennies are some of the most recognizable in U.S. history, with the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. The design itself, created by Victor David Brenner, has remained a symbol of American heritage for over a century. But what makes the 1941 wheat penny so valuable, especially among collectors? First, let's talk about the rarity of this coin. While millions of 1941 wheat pennies were minted, most of them were put into circulation and spent, which means they've seen plenty of wear and tear over the decades. Finding a 1941 wheat penny in excellent condition is a real rarity, and that's where the value comes in. Most of these pennies are heavily worn, making those that have survived in great shape even more precious, but it's not just the condition that makes this coin worth so much. There are also some notable minting errors that can make a 1941 wheat penny even more valuable. One of the most sought-after errors collectors look for is the double die variety. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, resulting in a doubled image. For the 1941 wheat penny, this error is most noticeable on the word Liberty and the date, 1941. The doubling effect is subtle, but if you look closely, you'll notice a distinct separation in the design. This makes the coin unique, and it's exactly what collectors are looking for. A double die error can increase the value of a 1941 wheat penny by thousands of dollars, and it's one of the most desirable mistakes in coin collecting. In addition to the double die error, some 1941 wheat pennies also feature repunched mint marks. This happens when the mint mark is stamped more than once, resulting in a misaligned or overlapping mint mark. This error is especially valuable because it signifies a mistake made during the production process, and collectors are always on the lookout for these rarities. A 1941 wheat penny with a repunched mint mark could be a very valuable addition to your collection. Now, let's talk about the general condition of the coin. As with any collectible, the better the condition, the higher the value. The 1941 wheat penny is no different. A coin that has been well preserved, free of scratches, dings, or discoloration, is worth significantly more than one that has been circulated heavily. Collectors prize coins in near mint or mint condition because they're hard to come by, especially after so many years in circulation. So, if you've got a 1941 wheat penny that still retains its sharp details and beautiful luster, you could be holding onto something very special. Of course, rarity plays a huge role in a coin's value. While the 1941 wheat penny was minted in relatively large numbers, the number of these coins still in circulation today, in excellent condition, or with minting errors, is far smaller. The fewer coins there are in great shape or with unique features, the higher the demand becomes. That's why a 1941 wheat penny with a rare error or in pristine condition can fetch such a high price. So, what's the price tag on this remarkable coin? If you're fortunate enough to have a 1941 wheat penny that is in exceptional condition, or better yet, one with a rare minting error like a double die or repunched mint mark, you could be looking at a value of an astonishing $98,000. Yes, you heard that right, $98,000 for a single 1941 wheat penny. It's amazing to think that such a small coin, which was once worth only a single cent, could be worth so much today. And yet, that's the magic of rare coins, especially those with minting errors or that have survived in pristine condition. If you've got a 1941 wheat penny in your collection, it might be time to take a closer look. You could be holding a small fortune in your hands. Coin collecting is all about discovery, and finding a rare and valuable coin like the 1941 wheat penny can be a thrilling experience. Whether you're just starting your collection or you're a seasoned numismatist, always keep your eyes open for this historic penny. The value of a 1941 wheat penny can vary, but with the right condition or a rare error, it could be worth far more than you ever expected. Top 8 and last rare and unique penny, we're going to dive into a true treasure from the past, the 1953 wheat penny. This might look like just another penny from the mid-20th century, but I promise you, there's much more to this coin than meets the eye. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who enjoys the thrill of discovering hidden gems, this video is for you. So, sit back, relax, and let's explore why the 1953 wheat penny could be the next big addition to your collection. When we talk about the wheat penny, we're talking about one of the most iconic coins in American history. Minted from 1909 to 1958, the wheat penny is a symbol of the nation's past, with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. These coins were designed by the famous artist Victor David Brenner, and they have been beloved by collectors for generations. But what makes the 1953 wheat penny stand out, and why could it be worth so much more than you think? First off, let's discuss the general rarity of the 1953 wheat penny. In terms of total mintage, this coin is relatively common compared to some other years. However, just because a coin is abundant doesn't mean it's always easily available in great condition. The 1953 wheat penny, like many older coins, was heavily circulated. After all, it was made to be used in everyday transactions. But over time, most of these coins have experienced wear and tear, making those that remain in good condition a lot rarer. Here's where it gets exciting. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A 1953 wheat penny in excellent condition, with sharp details and minimal signs of wear, is a true find. These well-preserved coins are what collectors dream about because they're much harder to come by than you might think. So, if you happen to stumble upon a 1953 wheat penny that looks like it was just minted, congratulations, you found a gem. But wait, there's more. What really sets the 1953 wheat penny apart from the pack are the potential minting errors that can drastically increase its value. Let's start with one of the most sought-after types of errors, the double die. A double die error happens when the coin is struck twice by the same die, resulting in a slight overlap or doubling of certain parts of the design. For the 1953 wheat penny, the doubling is often most noticeable on the date and the word Liberty. If you can spot these subtle doubling effects, you might be holding onto a coin worth significantly more than just 1 cent. Another error that collectors love to find is the repunched mint mark. This error occurs when the mint mark, the letter that shows where the coin was minted, was stamped more than once, creating a misaligned or doubled mint mark. If you have a 1953 wheat penny with a repunched mint mark, this is another potential value booster. Coins with minting mistakes are highly coveted in the coin collecting community because they are unique and add an element of intrigue to a collection. It's not just about errors either. Sometimes, a well-worn 1953 wheat penny can still be valuable, if it has certain characteristics. For example, a coin that has been well circulated but still retains a decent amount of detail could be valuable in specific markets. However, it's the coins with the rare minting errors or those that have survived in pristine condition that really catch the eyes of collectors and investors. Now, let's talk about how all these factors come together to create the real value of the 1953 wheat penny. While millions of these pennies were minted, the number of examples that remain in excellent condition or with rare minting errors is quite small. This makes the coin far rarer than you might initially think. The scarcity of these well-preserved or error-ridden coins, combined with the high demand from collectors, drives up the price significantly, and this brings us to the moment you've been waiting for, the value of the 1953 wheat penny. If you're lucky enough to have a 1953 wheat penny that is in pristine condition or features one of the rare minting errors we've discussed, you could be holding onto a coin worth a staggering $88,000. Yes, you heard that right. $88,000 for a single 1953 wheat penny. It's truly amazing that such a small coin could hold so much value. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. A small mistake, a well-preserved piece of history, or a rare find can make all the difference in how much a coin is worth. And the 1953 wheat penny is the perfect example of how something that seems ordinary can turn out to be extraordinary. So, if you've got a 1953 wheat penny, take a closer look. Whether it's in perfect condition or it has a rare minting error, this coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. As always, be sure to carefully examine your coins, and don't forget to check for any signs of errors that might increase their value. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning about the incredible potential value of the 1953 wheat penny. If you found this information helpful, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any future coin discoveries. Who knows? Your next rare find might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Keep hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.